Get in! Hey! The Reds So Fun, a game of football. That feels good, doesn't it? I'm Gareth Roberts, he's Mo Stewart, back in the studio to talk all things Liverpool FC. And it all feels a bit lighter and a bit nicer, doesn't it? And I think we should drink it in, lap it up, feel that sweet emotion coursing through your veins once more. Because after 3 defeats on the spin, Liverpool have won. So that's good, isn't it? And I've got to be frank with you all. Today, I've spent 2 hours recording content for the overlap with all those guys. And then I knew it was obviously coming here and doing another 2 hours here. And I just thought, come on, Liverpool. Yeah. Give me something. You know what I mean? 4 hours of doing stuff after, a 10th defeat of the season at the start of December. That would have been too much for me. I'm really glad for all those reasons. Glad for me, glad for you, glad for everyone who's a Red, glad for Liverpool Football Club, glad for Arne Slot, glad for the players, the lot. And let's be frank, it wasn't the most exciting game in the world, but who cares? Liverpool are up to 3 points off third place, 4 points off second, and 9 points off the top. But as Winston Wolfe said to Jimmy, well, let's not start sucking each other's dicks just yet, because, of course, it hasn't been great. And, one win doesn't polish that turd, does it? I was looking at the league table today, though, Mo, and I just thought, I think the league table really sums up one of Liverpool's biggest problems right now, which is balance. And you look at the table and it reads, played 13, won 7, drawn 0. Lost 6, 20 goals against 20 goals. And that's, like I say, that's where we're at. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, whatever you do with this squad, I think actually the squad is actually a bit unbalanced, isn't it? There's in some areas, there's like an embarrassment of riches. In others, you're scraping around. Some of that's injury, some of that's recruitment, whatever it might be. None of this is to absolve the manager before someone starts getting stuck into all of that bollocks. I know he will. But I just kind of think, a little bit of heat has been taken out of the situation by the fact that we've won a game. So perhaps we can all, including us, talk about it a little bit calmer now. Yes. You know what I mean? It is still 9 in the loss column. It is still 6 defeats in the league. And a lot of people were talking about the manager's job pre-match. But, hopefully something a little bit brighter now.
Here's hoping. I mean, it's been a long week up to that point. Because, we haven't really touched on what happened midweek in PSV. And, I think the thing about it wasn't so much the fact that it was how many times they were losing. And that was bad enough. But it was the nature of the defeats that felt bad. It felt like the kind of circling the drain kind of defeats. 10 goals conceded in 3 games, was it? And, with all due respect, Man City, obviously, are a good side. They're not the Man City of old. Forest, I'll be interested to see if they end up in the top half of the table at the end of the season. And PSV, we should not be conceded 10 goals in those 3 games.
No, definitely
if you're going to be the team who are defending champions and supposedly going to go off and win something massive again this season. So that was kind of where the depression, where the kind of you worry about the situation was coming from. So this was any kind of win, just a win, just to be able to, like you say, calm everything down a little bit, quieten the noise a little bit. But it wasn't just that. It was almost all the things that we've been asking for in one bundle. So it was a win away from home, a clean sheet, a goal for Isak, a great performance from Florian Wirtz, and a spotting of Joe Gomez as well. Yeah. Literally, it was the Arne Slot bingo. Everything that you'd have wanted to get. No
huge brain fart from Ibrahim Konate.
Yeah, I thought we had a lot of the players who had been basically castigated over the last week. So Konate, Kirkes, even Gakpo.
I've got a controversial Kirkes view. I think he's played well for about 3 games. So I don't think he's been that bad at all. I think there was a period where he looked like it was really getting to him, and epitomised by forgetting how to take a throw in. Even when he scored at Brentford, I thought be made up, but it looks like it really looks like a pressure cooker going off. Like, it's big. And I think he's been better personally. I don't think, maybe not amazing or man of the match or anything like that.
Just calmer.
But just all right. Do you know what I mean? Like looking more settled, looking more like part of it. Not some big, huge problem. Like, and I think maybe there's a little bit of scapegoating on, like everyone's going, oh shit, it's not good enough. And we all love Robbo, so Robbo should be in and he shouldn't be in the side. And I think there's a little bit of that going on. But yeah, I was made up with it. Like, I just thought, going into the game, same as you, mate, I just thought we just got to win. And one of the things that was bugging me about Slot really was, the definition of madness type thing, doing the same thing over and over. So when I saw the side, I thought, well, you've made some decisions here. Yeah. You know what I mean? You've dropped Mo Salah, first and foremost, which is the big one, is the headline. First time in 53 games in the Premier League and all that kind of stuff. And look, we know that he doesn't necessarily like that, and everyone in football knows that he doesn't necessarily like that. And there was the stuff with Klopp at West Ham when he did it, and there will be fire and all that kind of stuff if I say what I really think. So Slot will know that, the coaching team will know that, Liverpool will know that, and yet they've thought, well, away from home, in a game we've got to win, in a game where all the eyes are on us, the pressure's on, people are calling for his job and all the rest of it, he's made a big, bold decision and it's paid off.
Yeah, and I have some sympathy in the whole him changing things thing, because I've seen lots of people say, oh yeah, he was doing the same thing again and again. First of all, there was a period earlier in the season when he was changing their things every game and he was getting criticised for that as well. Because it was like, we need to see a settled team in order for everyone to kind of get their feet under the table, etc., etc. Second of all, like where the squad is at the moment with the injuries, he doesn't really have that much moves to make.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Salah, and it is going to be the biggest thing, because as much as we can sit here and look at it and think it was a bold decision and it paid off, can you imagine if he'd have dropped Salah and Liverpool had still lost? Can you imagine the shitstorm he would be in right now, not only from everyone on the outside, but probably from people on the inside, specifically Mr. Mo Salah. So for that to come off, it was almost like I was saying before in terms of the nature of the defeats, the PSV and the Nottingham Forest, if that one doesn't work, he's almost out of cards to play. So that one working was massive. Even if it does end up having potential repercussions for the short term and the long term future. But I thought, fair play to you. It did it, and he didn't just do it for doing its sake. He did it because he had a plan for what he wanted to do there.
Exactly, yeah.
And I feel like that works. But before we move on from Mo Salah, I wanted to ask you, I've got a few questions for you. So, last season, Mo Salah started every Premier League game. What was the shortest amount of time do you think he played in any of those 38 games?
81 minutes.
Close, 73 minutes against Crystal Palace. All right, now here's one for you. When was the last time Mo Salah was a substitute and didn't come on?
I was thinking about that and I didn't look it up, so glad you did. I can't, in the Premier League or just generally?
All competitions.
I don't think I can think of an instance.
So, the very first game after the first COVID break, where we were away at Everton and it ended 0-0. That was the last time.
That was no wonder I can't remember.
No.
It's a while ago.
Yeah. And then, which brings me to my third and final question. How many times has that happened in his whole Liverpool career?
What, he's been on the bench but not played? That'll be it, probably twice.
No, 4 times.
Oh.
And 3 of them were in that same season, including the other Everton game, the 5-2 game, where Shaqiri and Origi and Mane started.
I thought he was injured, hold on.
No, he was on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's just coming back from injury, but he was on the bench. But yeah, there was 3 times in that season, and then nothing for 5.5 years.
There you go. And look, I would still caveat the conversation as if it needs doing, but just to say that, it was absolutely phenomenal last season. And I still think, I'll always say this, and I don't think it's over. I don't think it's done. I think we still see Mo Salah as we know and love. It's just right now, especially away from home, Liverpool need to tighten up, and they look tighter with Gomez and Szoboszlai on the right in each other's pockets, patrolling that flank. I mean, it's not ideal, is it? And you know what I mean? And even Gomez sort of, I seen a brilliant thing. I love daft memes, mate. Like, I seen the one today, and honestly, I watched it about 4 times and laughed, even though I know exactly what happens. Have you seen the video someone made where, you know that penalty that Gerrard got against Blackburn when Roy Hodgson was the manager? Have you seen it? And it's like, if I score this, could be a comeback like Istanbul, and Roy might keep his job. And then you go, fuck that. So good. But I seen one today, and it was like, have you seen that? It's one that's often done type of thing where it's like it's the lad, and he's like squinting like that, and then he puts his glasses on.
Toby Maguire.
So this ad, the lad squinting like that with a blurry picture of Trent, and then he put them on, and it was Joe Gomez. And I was like, because Joe Gomez was involved in the goal, and he's getting forward and all that, and I was like, if he's had a knee problem, which he obviously has, and he's had injections, this is probably not the best. But needs must and all that. And I was made up. I've said before, being fortunate enough to do a couple of little interviews with Joe Gomez back in the day and all that. And I just thought he was he's a lovely fella.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? And I know football's not just about that. He needs to be able to play on the pitch as well. But I feel he's another one where I feel like he's sort of repeatedly written off. And it's been a year since he started the Premier League game, isn't it?
One of my favorite, and that was also away at West Ham. Yeah. One of my favourite things about the last 10 years of Liverpool is when Joe Gomez has a comeback. There'll be a time when he's been away, and then he'll come back, and everyone will be like, bloody hell, that Joe Gomez is good, isn't he? So I think, was it Klopp's last season where he plays 50 odd games, and he plays a couple of games in defensive midfield, and everyone's just like, what's happening here? Everyone just remembers how good he is.
Able to play football.
And yesterday felt like a game where he was like, let me show you what I can do. Yeah. I can do the defensive part, but I can do the attacking part as well. And he got himself into really good positions and then put a good ball in. And I think about some of the other players you've had playing right back this season. Like, I don't think anyone has nailed the defense and the attack as well in one game as he did in that one.
He looks really calm as well, I thought. You know what I mean? I think one of the things with the players, like Kirk has been an example, is just almost too pumped up and too compared them to the Tasmanian Devil. Yeah. I'm not doing the impression again.
He's seen it all before, though.
That's what I mean. He's just sound. Casey, 94, has thrown in a tenner on the chat and says, those drive homes from London are so much better after a win. Get yourselves a coffee, up the title charge and Reds. Thank you. There's lots of conversation, about it apparently not being that good. I mean, no one said it was good. It's literally said at the start of the show that it wasn't that good, but we won, and that was all we're asked about at this point. Also, loads of questions, sticks, gags about why we both have
I knew that was coming.
Design of shirts on. Are we lumberjacks? Are we going to a grunge gig? This type of thing.
I mean, I wouldn't make a very good Kurt Cobain impersonator, put it that way. But as soon as I saw you come in with that one, I thought, hang on, I can see what's going to happen there. But no, we hadn't discussed.
There was no previous discussion though. There was no wardrobe discussion because we haven't really clashed very often. But I just thought, do something a little bit different today, shake it up. But right, where are we up to? I mean, we will go into the match a little bit more. Just wanted to mention, obviously, as well, just to keep a little bit of optimism going there. Not only have we beat West Ham, which is fantastic, got the show on the road a little bit, hopefully, but we've got 2 very winnable games coming up. Sunderland have done fantastically well, obviously, coming back from behind to win at the weekend as well. Beat Chelsea away, but blah 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 blah. However you spin it, they've done really well.
They've done really well.
Done way beyond what people expected them to do, and I imagine there's starting to be maybe a few nervous Geordies when they're looking forward to that that derby that they thought they would comfortably win.
I was talking to a fellow I know on TalkSport earlier this afternoon who's a Newcastle fan, and he was like, I don't know how I'm going to feel if Isak scores against Sunderland. Because obviously he's still hoping that Isak doesn't do well, but he's also hoping that Sunderland do worse. But the funny thing about that Sunderland game is they've almost achieved their season's objective already. Like they've almost got enough points to say that we're not going to go down.
Yeah.
So
and like Wolves are so bad that bottom one's done.
Yeah.
And then, it's the other two, isn't it? And fair fucks to them, do you know what I mean? But hopefully, going away to Anfield is still a big ask and should be a big ask. And hopefully, we've shown, I thought, they're a bit of the fight that has been missing. And, let's take that into this game and carry on, because they will have a go.
Oh, yeah. They're very physical side as well.
Physical, they've got the long throw, all of that kind of stuff. It's shit, almost like you're saying as well, they're almost shit or bust for them. So, but we've got to win this. And then Leeds, Leeds have basically put out a fucking press release, it feels like, and said, we're going to sack the manager in a week. All right, cheers.
So I watched Leeds on Saturday because I was at the Etihad doing my journalism thing, and if there was ever a game of two halves, it was that one, because
I saw some of it.
They looked nowhere near in the first half. City were winning and easy. Probably could have been 3 or 4.
Calvert-Lewin was absolutely gifted that first goal, wasn't he? Fucking hell.
But that's the thing. Like, they went to 2 up front and 3 at the back, and City just had no idea how to deal with it. It was suddenly just like, wait, there's 2. Like they literally just got in each other's way. The City centre halves, because they didn't know who to mark. Because wait, there's now 2 of them. So yeah, there was definitely some tips for Liverpool in how not to deal with Leeds in the second half and how to deal with Leeds in the first half. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've mentioned it on the show before, but my sister supports Leeds United, so that's a must-win, an absolute must-win, because I can't be having her lording anything over me, no chance. But yeah, I think if we go into that game at Ellen Road having 1-2 in a row, then it's one of those situations where, as we all said, the game on Sunday wasn't perfect, but it's the first building block. And if you can put another building block on top of it, then maybe a little bit more confidence comes back. Maybe a little bit more of how you want to play comes back. And from there, and from there, and from there. Look, it's not going to change overnight. I know it feels like it went from good to bad overnight, but I don't think it's going to go back from bad to good overnight. It is going to take a while. I mean, just from what I was saying about City, they were in the same situation last season. Yeah. And how many times has people said, City are back, and then they'll go and lose a couple of games that you weren't expected? Like, they're still in that now. Yeah. So it's going to take a while, but...
They also spent in the January
they did.
To help a little bit.
Lots of money.
So maybe Liverpool...
Any hopes?
Because, what you drop Salah and you put Szoboszlai there, and, Gomez behind, and man, it sort of works to a point, and we get the points. But, as like a long-term plan, it's not a thing, is it? And this is the thing about, like, there's the constant, Liverpool spent this, Liverpool spent this, Liverpool spent this. Yes, they did, yeah. But there are still places to continue spending, whether people like hearing that or not. Like, we haven't got another winger, have we? No. We haven't. If Salah, if Salah wasn't fit and you wanted someone of his ilk, who is it? No one's there.
It's the guy Frimpong who's also not available because he's injured, or it's Chiesa playing out of position, which doesn't really suit much. No,
or it's Semenyo.
Yeah, we'll see.
And then on the other side, Diaz has gone. We got good money for Diaz. He wanted to go. There is no narrative about we should have kept him. He was going. By all accounts, we had to persuade him to stay another season. And then he's gone and he's playing in the Bundesliga and he's doing stuff there. And everyone's like, fucking hell, I wish we still had that lad. Now, Liverpool said on that, or it came out, or it was in pieces, whatever, that that was they wanted to leave the path clear for Inge Mo. But he's not playing him.
No.
So that says to me then that, this pathway, you're happy to bring him on as a sub, but you're not happy to start him. So it's just Gakpo every week. I mean, Gakpo every week doesn't feel like a plan.
No, and I might kind of come early in some of the stats I had saved for the... I knew I couldn't get away with that with you around. Some of the stats I'd saved for the Patreon, but the whole Gakpo-Diaz thing. So last season, when Gakpo was brilliant, he wasn't playing all the time. He was interchanging with Diaz. Like, 48 games Liverpool played in the Premier League and Champions League. Gakpo started 27 of those 48 games. He completed the full 90 6 times. 6! Which tells you in all of those other 21 games, someone was coming on for him at some point.
He was injured for a while, wasn't he? Did he end up second top goal scorer last season?
Yeah.
But yeah. And everyone by common consensus was pretty happy with him, weren't they? But yeah, I remember that he definitely wasn't there.
So this season, he started 15 out of the 18 games in Premier League and Champions League. 10 full 90s already.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel like it's getting the best out of him. So as much as you can say, oh yeah, we want to keep the pathway clear for someone like Rio and Gamoa, I mean, we didn't really do that for Curtis Jones, did we?
No.
And he found his way in. If you're good enough, you will find your way in. So buying someone who could play on the left but doesn't always have to play on the left wouldn't necessarily be blocking Rio's pathway. It might actually help him out because it means that he's less likely to be thrown in situations that don't suit him, and it'll give him the time to properly get to where he can get to with the talent he's got, rather than, too much too soon, and then he ends up being worse off for it.
Monty Python now as well, about the shirts. I wanted, before we do a little bit more on the match, I mean, everyone's quite rightly pointing out there wasn't like loads in the match anyway. Because I was happy with that. Do you know what I mean? I was like, do you know what? Just be sensible, manage it, make sure you get the victory and make sure you get the points, because you need to take the heat out of where we were at. We needed the points. We needed to win away. We needed to keep a clean sheet. We did all of the above. And there was points in the game where there's like, what you're not coming at us, all right then?
Yeah.
Do you want it? You have it. And I was fine with it. I said today when I was on the overlap there to Carragher, I was like, is there an obsession, or is there an overthought almost, an overthinking of between Slot and the rest of them? Because it's not just Slot. Slot's the head coach, and then there's all the rest of them. FSG, Edwards, who've I missed out, the other fella,
Richard Hughes,
etc. When they're planning out, this thing of, we're getting a bit obsessed with entertaining, and we're getting a bit obsessed with buying, Galactico type players, or do you just fucking win? I'm all right with just fucking winning, to be honest. And what my point that I made to Carragher was he was in a Houllier side, obviously, and Houlier's football a lot of the time was not the greatest to watch. No. But you know what? If you emerged at the end of it and you'd won, or you emerged at the end of it with a piece of silver in your hand, you're taking it. It's all right. And so right now, again, back to balance. We haven't had the balance, hence that fucking league table, and hence 7 won, 6 lost, no defeat, 20 and all that kind of stuff. So from here on in, well, A, he's got to find some kind of balance, and it looked like he's starting to look for it there against West Ham with what he's got. And then B, maybe you do have to do a bit more transferring.
Well, you can have an idea of what you think is going to happen when you go into the transfer market, when you buy players, and I do think that there was a plan. I just don't think that the plan has worked out for a variety of reasons. So then it becomes, well, do we have to revise what the plan was? Or do we have to maybe do some things to augment the plan so it works better? I think we're in the latter category. I think, obviously, the most obvious thing is the one that people are going to look at straight away is Mark Gahey, not signing him. Obviously, if Liverpool had signed him, it would have made a massive difference, even if they'd have ended up selling Joe Gomez, which was the plan when they were trying to get Gahey. But at that time, when they decided not to, or not when they decided not to, when it fell through, or when they decided to leave it as late as possible, they had already signed Leone. They weren't anticipating not having Leone. That was one of those things that you can't have anticipated when you were planning it. So the difference between what plan A was and how it looked before a ball was kicked and how plan A looks now, 4 months into the season, is different. And so you have to be able to roll with those things. I think there are some things within it that can still work out that haven't worked out yet. But I do also think that there are some things you look at and you think, well, maybe in order to get the best out of these things that we've already done, we need to do some other things as well.
Yeah, definitely. Just to do a little bit on the manager then, because there's been loads said and written since we did the last show, which was following Nottingham Forest. We then saw something worse, in my opinion, against PSV.
Yes.
And then last week, our vibe on here was, well, we think it's too soon to sack a manager that's won the league. That then prompted some furious typing, because the internet loves furious typing. Because for some, it seemed everything is his fault, and Anfield would be the land of milk and honey if we were to go out and appoint someone else. Even madly, I thought, an interim manager. When did Liverpool go and do interim managers in a season after when they just won the league? It just, nah. And today, to hark back to the overlap again, but I was sat next to a Chelsea fan, and it wasn't Rory, it was a different fella. And he was going on about all the times they sacked managers. And funnily enough, he thinks we should have sacked Slot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you're a Chelsea fan, and I'm a Liverpool fan, and we're not Chelsea.
No.
And, and I quite like that, this is a fella that come in and won the league for us and was lauded for doing so. Then has had to deal with, the Jota situation and dealt with it in a really diplomatic, statesman-like way, and we all praised them for it. And then, here we are, 13 games into the Premier League season, and it blows me mind that the toxicity towards them from some. And I know, it's only some. But I really liked it, and as an example, the travelling cop singing his name yesterday, and I really liked after PSV. I had a couple of pints before PSV, and then afterwards I wasn't going to have a pint. I was just going to go home, and then because of the way it unfolded, I thought if I just go home and sit there on my own in mine, I'm just going to be up till God knows when anyway. So what's the point? I may as well just go for a pint. So I went for a pint, and I was glad I did, because we ended up sitting by some our fellas that, I didn't know them or anything. They were just in the pub. But we got talking to them, and they were proper old school, seen it all. And they were just like, nah, just keep the faith, lads. Sacking them. You know what I mean? And it was probably like, yeah, that. Do you know what I mean? And I said to you just before, didn't I? I heard a story on the radio today, and every time this time of year, December or whatever, they do a piece saying the Oxford Dictionary or whatever it is adding a word to the dictionary based on its usage in society, and that they are adding this year rage bait. And I thought, fucking hell, isn't that absolutely spot on?
Yeah.
Because I do wonder about where we are as a society. And is this bleeding into football and bleeding back out the other way? Maybe where everything is just okay, sack the manager now then. Yeah. And look, the run of defeats is shit. And to be on 9 defeats all comps when you've only just turned into December is way beyond expectations, especially after we just won the league and all of that. But Arsenal aside, what's everyone else doing?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But it's easier to kind of step back after a good win, but also after a few hours or so, because I have to hold my hand up and say, in the immediate aftermath of that PSV game, I properly wavered. Anyone who saw the video that I put out was just well, that feels like the kind of defeat that happens just before a manager gets the boot. And again, it wasn't just the number, it was the nature of the defeats and how bad Liverpool were in so much of that game. And for me, it was almost like, speaking of memes, have you seen the one of Wesley Snipes where he's shooting the fella but he's got tears in his eyes? It's from New Jack City. He's got a big hat on and he's got the gun. He's crying. He's I don't want to have to kill you, but I'm gonna have to kill you. That was kind of how I was feeling at that point. Because it's I really want to be in a world where Arne Slot can turn it around and this can just be a part of his story as Liverpool manager. I don't want us to be in a situation where the whole season becomes turmoil, because that's what it would be. Any kind of interim management or any kind of manager who comes in halfway through a season, it's going to be more turmoil before it gets good. And I think it's funny because we always talk about the new manager bounce, and aside from the fact that doesn't really happen anymore, but just think about that word, bounce. What happens when you bounce? You go up. Then what happens? You go back down to where you started. It's not a new manager soar through the sky.
And also as well, you know, like we've had these owners for long enough now, and the people who the owners employ, because they're not particularly new either.
No.
And we know how they deal with things, and we know that they don't give a fuck about noise. They don't give a fuck about social media. They don't give a fuck about like what the media's saying. And so, you know, whereas I think, well, yeah, they might have gone a bit, you know, too attack heavy, too entertainment heavy. The players they've signed, you know, finally we're getting something out of them yesterday. So guess what? That's going to help. And guess what? That could be a bit of a way home in terms of getting some results. I mean, for me, it's dead simple. Anyone who's looking at Verts and thinks he isn't a good footballer, I don't know what you're doing. And then equally, Isak, you know, like, yes, he has been a shadow of himself largely for Liverpool so far. But equally, you only have to look at last season and the season before, and he's banging 25 plus goals in both of those seasons for Newcastle. So is it, you know, when he's there, when he's where he should be mentally and physically, then we've got some player there. And so quite clearly that will improve Liverpool. But I just think when they're deciding to do all that business in and out, they must have said, they're not daft, they're not stupid people. There will have been a conversation about this could go, this might not work.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
absolutely.
This might, and there was lots of pieces over the weekend from, you know, respected journalists and all that. Jonathan Northcroft was one. Sam Wallace in the Telegraph as well. And Liverpool don't do, you know, like public statements about managers and all that. But this was quite close. It was sort of like when you read between the lines, it was quite clear that both of those journalists had spoken to someone at the club and got a bit of a what's the mood like vibe. And when you read the pieces, you were like, okay, it's not even in the thinking. No. Obviously, there will be a number in a situation where, you know, they do have to do it. But I don't think it's there now. And I think West Ham is now, you know, taking a little bit of the heat out of the situation, as I said. It'll still be there if we go on another 4 or 5. You know, then it'll ramp right up again, because when you've already lost 9, then I think where it comes to a head as well is, you know, can you, like the minimum for them, the minimum for the team, the squad, everything is, you should be getting in the Champions League again next season.
Yes.
And they would have expected some kind of run in this Champions League this season. If for some reason you're not qualifying for the next round of the Champions League and you're way off getting into the Champions League for next season, I think that's when you're starting to, like, you know, break the glass and say, right, what can we do and all the rest of it. But even then, it's the stuff of, I think we said last week, didn't we, like, people hate this argument, but, you know, who you getting? Yeah. But also what I thought was funny on the rage bait thing and on the cycle of news and on the sort of almost the everything has to be and then if it's not about us, it's about someone else. I thought, I wonder what the sacking odds are. And Slot's drifted back out now because he's got a victory. So Farke is the odds-on favourite,
which I still think is really harsh.
Which is also, but also like he's going to be when essentially Leeds are saying, well, we've got Chelsea and Liverpool, and if you lose those 2 games, you're sacked. Well, there's a high chance.
Despite the fact that they were getting a point away off City going into the 90th minute.
Yeah.
And looks really good in that second half. Yeah, but...
Thomas Frank, though, is the second favourite. 4-1. And it's like, hang on a minute. So is Spurs the crisis club now then? Are we all right now? Off 1 win? Are we all right now? Is that cycle? The rage bait now is for Spurs fans. And like, you know, I had the radio on then driving in, and the amount of times they brought up the fact that he's basically said booing the keeper for fucking coming off his line is a bit mad and is not very helpful. He's got a point.
Yes.
But it's turned into this weird thing of he's having a go at the fans for booing. No, he isn't. He's having a go specifically about them booing that player over that incident. So, you know, but it's how it gets twisted into something all the time, isn't it?
I think as well, so there are certain clubs who are more susceptible to that kind of extremism. If it's not the greatest, it's the worst, and crisis club. And like you were saying before about the difference between Chelsea's owners and Liverpool's owners, Tottenham's owners are another one who have been known to kind of pull the trigger maybe at the behest of public opinion as opposed to, you know, sound logic. So with Thomas Frank, it feels like he maybe is in a little bit more danger than Arne Slot would be. So if if Frank were in Liverpool and Slot were at Spurs, then it might be the other way around sort of thing. So you do feel for some of those managers because, I mean, admittedly, they're probably going to get a fair bit of money if they do get sacked. But it just, like you say, it always has to be someone. They can never. It can never just be, okay, well, some teams aren't doing as well as they want to be, but that's all right. Hopefully they will again.
I just heard as well on the drive-in, Espirito Santo is he the man to keep West Ham up? Come on! like that's what I mean. It's like, I think some of it's like insultancy and intelligence at times, and it's just like, maybe that's the problem. You know, like Blades with you know, AI thrones who call our players and our managers like unbelievable names from afar and never even go to match. Are probably not the person to watch if you want any kind of clue about what the culture is around our club. But yeah, reading these pieces that are referenced, I thought, well, one, you can take two things from them. One, Arne Slot's going nowhere for now. And two, Klopp ain't riding to the rescue, back to the future style. Because the two pieces basically ruled both of those things out. And like I say, you didn't have to read between the lines too much to see they've spoken to someone somewhere at the club who's got some kind of standing there. The Northcroft stuff, there's stuff in there about Edwards, that he has a saying that results are noisy.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a weird, like Edwards never ever doing anything public and never ever doing an interview and still being this like shadowy figure. I think it's just funny how like you get little snapshots into his life. Did you read this piece?
Yeah.
The bit about he doesn't go to match and he watches it like I had how I envisaged it, and I don't know what the phrase was now. I haven't got it in front of me. It said something like he watched that at home sometimes while on a running machine, but for some reason in my head that's like a dungeon now. You know, like a bat cave. With this huge wraparound screen with him just in the middle of it watching it. And it's like, it's just mad the way, I mean, it's his choice and he wants to live it that way, go ahead. But it's just how he's never ever been seen, heard. Like, what does his voice sound like?
No, he's like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
He might grant you wealth and riches, but you'll never know what he really looks like and what he really sounds like. But I think sometimes Liverpool, as more than most clubs, have this thing of, you know, eulogizing and mythologizing certain characters. And a lot of the time it is the manager, because the manager is the public face of the club and he's the one who builds a connection with fans. But in this kind of modern transfer window winning age, then the guy who's in charge of the transfers probably does become a little bit more elevated. And yes, the people who give the least of themselves are the ones who people care and wonder about most. It's like, why do you think Daft Punk started wearing those mad helmets? Do you think if it was just two weird French fellas, everyone would give a shit about them? No. It's building the myth. And it suits him that he doesn't have to say anything publicly. But every now and then, there might be something that suits him to let it out publicly. And so someone will be given a tidbit or two. But I do think the whole results and noisy thing does kind of cut through to the way he thinks about things, because it goes back to a lot of what Arne Slot's been saying in his press conferences. Like, the results are the short term, but the performances, that's where you get real success. If your performances are consistently one thing or another, that's how you tell how good you really are. So he's almost not as in, like, the noise from the results is getting in the way of what he wants to look at to assess how good or bad his team is. So I think it will suit him if there's more results coming through, because it means that they are less likely to have to be under pressure to do things. But I still think that there comes a point where he has to, and they all have to, assess what they've done and be like, okay, are we still sure that this is going to work? It's like also when we were talking about Isak before, like you compared him to Newcastle and the goals he scored at Newcastle. That's great. He scored great goals at Newcastle. Who did he have supplying him with goals at Newcastle? Jacob Murphy and Anthony Gordon. What do they like to do? Either cross it from early or run out on the outside, go on outside and whip the balls in. We have Gakpo and Salah. They do neither of those things.
They both come inside.
So it's like you maybe need to start putting a few more complementary pieces around.
And the irony of that though is that, you know, like to go back to Kirkes, the thing that I got excited about when we said we were signing him is when I'd watched him, I saw a lad that bombs down the wing and puts a great ball in. So why have we stopped him? Why have we stopped him from doing that? Because in these games where I've just said before, I think he hasn't been that bad. He's done that a couple of times. And you're like, there's that cross that I'm on about. And then you can envisage Isak being on the end of that type of save. Like, it was a bit mad to see Gomez trying to do that. But, you know, it kind of worked and we've won and up the Reds. I mean, there was another line in this piece as well. It said, there's a recognition that Slot is dealing with a perfect storm of complex issues caused by everything from the loss of Diogo Jota to a temporary shift in how football is played. Where will Liverpool finish? Anywhere from first to fifth is one senior figure's view. Now, we're 18-1 for the title.
I was going to say, like, I mean, I'd quite like to know who that senior figure is. And if it's Tom Werner, I'll be like, interesting. But, yeah. The fact that they aren't ruling out first, I think, is very interesting because maybe they're doing what you did like a minute ago and looking at the league and saying, well, everyone else is in this shit.
Well, Chelsea are apparently in the title race, back to this recency bias of the way the whole football world seems to operate. So they're in the title race now. That's all I've heard all day on the media, etc. We're 3 points behind them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Liverpool right now look like, I'm still not convinced it's fixed, and I'm still not convinced, like we were talking about earlier, about the balance of the squad and things like that. But
lots of problems. But,
you know, we could make signings in January, and we've seen a signing come in and be sound and make a difference straight away. That could happen. Arsenal could drop some points. Floor
teams have won the title. So before I came here, the last thing I did was I watched that new Kenny Dalglish documentary on Amazon Prime. And it goes into the 85-86 season, his first season as player manager.
Is it that season where Hansen said they were shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were.
Yeah.
And 12 games from the end, Hansen persuaded Kenny to come out off the bench and get back on the pitch. They won 11, drew 1, won the league on the last day of the season.
It just reminds me of another meme. I think it's on Reddit. Someone does. Anytime we beat someone, they put something like "Welcome to the Arne Slot penitentiary," and he's like dribbling around.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I think it's actually Ronaldinho who's doing that for real, and they put him in there, and it's just it's so weird.
See, I just love stuff like. Do you remember that fella? Who was he? Like there was a fella like years ago on like LFC Twitter. And he used to make these really bizarre but brilliant videos of Liverpool every time Liverpool won a game, and they were just totally bizarre. There was all kinds of. It was sort of like Family Guy mixed in with that LFC, mixed in with with like Viz, Monty Python. You know what I mean? They were absolute. Like, they were bizarre but brilliant, and there was like I think he ended up with a job somewhere off the back of it. But they were really good. But that's all my memories got for you, Soz. But yeah, what else was it saying? I mean, you know, some of it was a bit of a sort of PR piece, obviously. So it's going on about, you know, they felt he was the developer of players, that his teams overperformed, that he was used to, you know, a lot of change, which he had to, you know, Feyenoord constantly sold their players and things like that. The one bit that I thought, I liked the piece and I like Jonathan Norcroft, I think he's very good and all the rest of it. There's one bit in it though, and I just thought, I'm going to have to go and have a look at that, because is that right? Because he said Liverpool's 7 summer signings and 10 departures was actually less than Arsenal's activity, 8 signings and 11 out. And I thought, I've not heard anyone else reference that. Is that right? And so I thought, I'll go and have a look. So I went and had a look. So in for them, Zubamendi, Eze, Gyökeres, Madueke, Mosquera, Norgard, the keeper Kepa, Mac. You know, he doesn't count as right.
Kepa is as well.
Yeah, he's on there loan, and then but the outs, it ain't the same, is it? No. Do you know what I mean? Like Tavares, Marquinhos, you know, Thomas Partey.
I mean, he's the only one on that list of outs who had a claim to be in
Kieran Tierney,
the first team.
So I mean, there's outs, but it wasn't like the outs that they wanted. You know, it was like this isn't disruptive outs. No. This isn't game changing outs. This isn't Trent Alexander-Arnold out. This isn't a Diaz out. I mean, even dare I say, even Nunes. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know.
There were players that were like That's not that. So no. I'm not having your point there, Jonathan. Sorry, mate. Just that.
But the thing is, right, and this is kind of crucial. What Arsenal did is they replaced all of their fringe players who weren't playing.
Was the videos everyone's saying? Yes, him.
They replaced all the fringe players who weren't very good and weren't going to get a game with reserve players who are good enough to come in. Because of the list of the players who came in, I think only Zubimendi, when he arrived, you thought, oh, well, he's definitely going in the first team. But others have come in and have kind of found their way into it. So Gyökeres, maybe you can make an argument for him as well. But Eze found his way in. Mosquera's done well. Obviously, they've played against Chelsea without Saliba or Gabriel, and there'd have been an absolute meltdown if they had to do that last season or in the season before.
And that's the point, isn't it? Like, you know, it like rewrite the piece and go on about the depth of the two squads, basically, because that's where the issue is, isn't it? And then in the Sam Wallace piece, he mentions this idea that, you know, Klopp. I mean, I saw a piece, and I don't want to throw this particular fella under the bus, so I'm not going to, but I'll just sort of refer to it in a roundabout way. So, you know, once upon a time, worked as a sub-editor. I think most people who listen regularly know that. And there was a piece in the papers last week written by a man, and I just thought, that's just absolute bullshit. It's not based on fucking anything. It's based on, because there are unfortunately still some journalists out there. There are some very good journalists. There's some journalists who like won't publish something unless 3 or 4 people tell them the same thing. There are other ones who, especially in this, you know, the society thing I keep talking about, who'll just fucking write something and it'll be utter bullshit, but they'll know that it'll get people talking or it'll get clicks or whatever. And I would suspect that this was in the latter category, to be honest. And it was going on about that there would be this SOS call for Klopp. And I was just thinking, that's bullshit, that. Because even before I read what Sam Wallace wrote over the weekend, it was like, we already know that by the end, Klopp had fell out with people who left the club.
Yes.
Then Klopp left and they've come back again. And so now it's like, this is the post-Klopp era. They've won the league without Klopp. And then fellas are here. And it's like, so if you brought him back, how's that going to work? And he doesn't even want to come back. He said he was knackered, he was goosed, he needed a rest, he's got a new job. Nah.
So I heard that Edwards and Klopp had some kind of reconciliation post them both leaving. But
not on a work every day.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like you can say, okay, yeah, I probably overreacted in that. Yeah, you probably overreacted. Sound. We'll kind of shake on it and think, hey, we had a good run, etc., etc. But do you want to go back into that world? Like, Klopp doesn't want to have to go back and do press conferences, let alone work with Michael. So it's like he can't be asked of any of that stuff. And I think what it is that, like what I was saying before about the disruption of bringing in a new manager in the middle of the season, it felt like an easy answer to the question. You get Klopp in to do this little period while they're trying to find, kind of like what Martin O'Neill's just doing at Celtic. Get him in, make everyone happy. He's someone who loves the club, someone who's had a really good history with the club, who's a safe pair of hands. While you're in the background, you're trying to find who's going to be the next guy to take you forward.
But that was like a hugely untenable relationship, wasn't it? That was why Rodgers went. I mean, the fucking statement that the owner put out was fucking wild. And it was like, okay, so in that situation, you had to pull the plug. You don't get the impression, because, you know, these type of pieces that I'm talking about that were written over the weekend, they're the ones where if there's something gone majorly wrong behind the scenes, it would be in there. Do you know what I mean? Because someone somewhere would find out, because they always do. Yeah. And the only thing I see in either of these pieces or elsewhere about there's there was one little hint in there which said something along the lines of some players don't understand why Kirkes repeatedly gets picked over Robertson when he hasn't necessarily deserved the place.
Yeah.
Which goes back to what we were saying last week when it was like he did, swapping out Ekatike for Isak. That might fuck people off as well.
Yeah, I think there's an element of you're at a club like Liverpool, you've got to earn your way into the first team, particularly for Robertson, who had to do exactly that. And I mean, he was up against Albi Moreno, so it wasn't like he was playing against a player who was as great and as trophy laden as Robertson is now. So you can see a world where maybe some of the senior players or whoever it was a bit like, no, you got to earn your way in, and it kind of goes back to historic Liverpool teams, isn't it? Like that was what it was. If you're a new signing, you can't come expecting to come in and play every week. You've got to earn your way into the side. But I just think that where we are at the moment, like you say, there would be a lot more leaking out, a lot more of we're not quite sure about this and that, and a lot more of the whole stories around what happened in the summer where it's like, well, actually this person wanted this and this person wanted that, and like there was one story, something like that around Slot being overruled on Luis Diaz, but
yeah,
I feel like the more of those kind of things would happen in a situation where there was genuinely starting to think about something else. But as with lots of things about this club, you can always talk about Liverpool and get clicks or get eyes on you. So there's never really any kind of downside to writing whatever the hell you want. And so there's going to be people who opportunistically put 2 and 2 together and get 5 in this situation. And that's something else that everyone is going to have to just deal with. But I do think, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, that we've seen enough from this ownership group, from this management team, to know how they work and to be able to trust that they aren't going to do anything until they're 1,000% sure that it's better than what we are at.
Yeah,
now.
exactly. And I don't think as well that there's any impression that the players think he's the wrong fella either, and they don't have like what I've noticed in the past is that you sometimes get either you get the little leaks and the little things in pieces like that. The other thing that can happen is you just get nothing. No one says anything, and it's it's conspicuous by its absence that anyone says anything. But you've seen players putting stuff on social media. You've seen Curtis, pretty upset in an interview saying we're in the fucking shit here, like type of thing. He looked and then he backed it up, didn't he, when he come on running around like a blue ass fly, and you're like, fucking is right, lad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't go and do an interview and say that and then come on and half-arse it, and he didn't.
No,
so
he didn't.
Fair fucks. A couple of things to mention. Read the comments. Nicholas, who often appears and throws in nice comments, has appeared and put in a nice comment with his standard $100, $100 Australian dollars, I think it is. Thanks, mate. He says, Mo and Gareth, great to see you in a positive mood. I was beginning to think you'd need to line up Mr. Paul Cope to help you guys, considering the last few shows. Great defensive display. I think we can build from here if things fall into place. Love your show and keep up the great work. Thank you, mate. And then another regular as well, the Grim Sleeper. It's thrown 10 quid in it, and it says, this is to pay for the membership for the Bay City Rollers fan club. Nice one for everyone to be lifted by yesterday's result. Hopefully this is the start of a decent run. Someone else has asked where my cowboy hat is. It's a fucking barber shirt. And
try to do something a little bit different.
And it's fucking staying out there, by the way. It's the time of the year for this type of get. And also, I'm 49 years old. I can rock it. Anyway. What else have we got? And someone was saying should we put a tenner on at 18-1. So there's been a little mini chat in the chat as well about where do we think now we'll finish.
I still think top 4. I don't want to pin my flag to anything any more specific.
I'm going to say third.
You reckon third?
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I'll put it that much. But yeah, I think top 4 at somewhere within the top 4. I think.
Because when I'm saying that, it's not because I think Liverpool are brilliant, and I think there's every chance that we lose more games. What it's pinned on is the fact that I'm looking at everyone else and not thinking anyone else is that good, to be honest. Arsenal could and should win the league from this position. Man City have lost 4 games, we've lost 6. Yes, really, Scouse Pete. I mean, Man City have lost 4 games, as I've just said, and they're not pulling up trees. They're beatable. They looked beatable against Leeds, and then they pulled a late win out the bag. Arsenal, like I say, they are the side that should go and win it from here on in. And if they don't, wow. I really don't know where they go from there. Chelsea, okay, they've looked, they beat Barcelona the other night. They were really good, even with 10 men against Arsenal. They gave it a proper go. They got stuck in. They did all the stuff that if that was me and I supported them, I'd be like, get in the boys. I think their manager is doing all right there. They've still got Palmer to come back as well, blah, 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 blah. So, I think they'll be up there. But then the rest of the league, I mean, there was an Aston Villa fan waxing lyrical about them today. And yeah, decent manager, they've done all right. They lost to us. So and looked pretty bad in that game. Yeah. And
I think that there's no real consistency from a lot. I think Villa are on a decent run. I think it's something like 6 wins out of 8, I think it is. But
they got Arsenal this weekend.
They have got Arsenal this weekend. I don't know. I saw a stat as well today saying that I think they've scored 9 goals from outside the box.
Yeah.
That doesn't really feel.
Carragher was saying, wasn't he? Not really sustainable.
No.
But he did it again yesterday, didn't he? I think. But yeah, I mean, look, someone in the comments has said, "Fucking predict what you think." Based on what we know now and where we are now. So then we say it, and then you get comments saying, "Fucking really?" Yeah.
It's almost like we're all allowed to have different opinions.
He's clarified that he's not saying it about my prediction, he's saying it about my shirt.
Oh no, that's even better.
Well, the shirt's here to stay.
I thought he was going to say it's about you being 49. It's like, really? I never would have guessed.
I mean, I would have liked that. I've had a shave to try and look younger because my beard was looking very grey and white and shit. But anyway, fishing for compliments now. How long have we done here?
I was going to say, that feels like time to wrap it up.
Only because every time that I've done this show, all of these years, it is all of these years now, isn't it? There's normally a thing that says on YouTube that I look at it on my iPad, number of minutes gone. And it's gone. It's not there.
How dare they?
It's over an hour. Oh, sorry, Lar. Oh, well, we've done it.
We'll have to get you a sign that just says, it's been an hour, or wrap it up.
I didn't realise. Well, we had loads more stuff to talk about. We didn't even talk about... let's see. No,
guess what?
I think we did talk about
Guess what? We've got a whole other show.
There's another show. There is another show. There's another show. I think we'll talk a little bit about Wirtz and we'll talk a little bit about Isak because we had some stuff to say. Do you know what? They're quite good players, them, and maybe we should sort of look towards that. And then else we're going to talk about... do you know what, though? Andrew Beasley said he's going to be watching to check whether we use his stat. So... Liverpool had 5 shots on target without conceding any. It was only the 12th Premier League game in which they've done this in the last 11 years.
Bloody hell.
There you go, Andrew. He is bass tuned to Red on Twitter, etc. He's also got a very good Substack. He is, I think, making a living out of this these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
So going back what he does, it's different, it's good, and he's there every week turning up with these great bits of information that we like to use on here. And someone tweeted him saying this will defo be on the late challenge tomorrow, and he said it better I'd be. And I've squeezed it in right at the end.
We do.
So someone's mentioned I was going to put this on the agenda. Someone mentioned Didi Haman coming out with strange comments. I mean, lads, did you see him? I mean, looked like they dragged him off the fucking street. And I think he's in the fucking Steve Nicol category for talking absolute wham about the Reds, I've got to be honest. So just ignore him. We will be doing a Patreon, which is just going to be, one of the famous Late Challenge Patreons where we talk about all kinds of it. So we'll do a bit more on this game, I think. We'll talk about that dickhead that you could see on the telly calling Joe Gomez a wanker. We'll talk about this obsessed fella that comments on the YouTube for weeks and weeks and weeks. Made up that Mo said something months ago and he wants some kind of justification as to why I said it. We'll be talking about, A, that point, but B, why people are like that on the internet as well. So if that's you, mate, we're going to talk about it because you were desperate for us to talk about it. So come right over, Stu. We will be on the Patreon. Give us your money, bro. Give us your money. And someone wants to know about my burgeoning and ongoing relationship with ChatGPT. We might get into that.
I've got one of those now as well, by the way.
ChatGPT?
A relationship with it, yeah.
Oh, there we go. And you used to mock.
I know, I still do, but anyway, we'll get into that.
Oh, and final comment on the live show is nice shirt, Robbo. Never mind the lack of style with others. I mean, I'm genuinely, this will be worn again. I've only just bought it. I was going to save it for the weekend, but I thought I'd treat you. Oh, you've loved it. Anyway, we'll be over on the Patreon soon. If you fancy that, come on over. It's only £1 a week or all of that stuff. Hope you've enjoyed the show. It's felt a bit more positive. Hopefully, it's been received that way too. And yeah, we'll see you next week if you just watch the free show. Throw in your tight ass.